199,600,000 years ago, Earth entered a remarkable chapter known as the Jurassic Period, a time when massive dinosaurs walked across vast lands and strange creatures filled the oceans and skies. Lasting for more than 56 million years, this period witnessed the growth of enormous plant-eating dinosaurs, powerful predators, the spread of forests, and major changes in the planet's environment. The Jurassic world was filled with incredible animals, from giant long-necked sauropods to fierce hunters like Allosaurus. The beginning of the Jurassic Period marked one of the most important moments in the history of life on Earth. It was a time when the planet was recovering from a major natural disaster that had changed the course of evolution. The world that entered the Jurassic Period was very different from the world that existed before it. Many groups of animals and plants had disappeared during the end Triassic extinction, leaving behind ecosystems that had lost much of their previous diversity. Over millions of years, life slowly rebuilt itself, new species appeared, and the environment began to change in ways that allowed many new forms of life to develop. The Jurassic Period began about 201 million years ago following the end of the Triassic Period. The transition between these two geological periods was not a simple change from one age to another. It happened after a serious extinction event that affected oceans, land environments, and many living organisms. Scientists study rocks, fossils, and chemical evidence from this time to understand how Earth changed and how life responded to these difficult conditions. The end Triassic extinction occurred near the boundary between the Triassic and Jurassic periods. This extinction event was one of the 5 major mass extinctions in Earth's history. During this event, many species disappeared from the planet. Several groups of marine animals were heavily affected, including many ancient reptiles and ocean creatures. On land, many types of large amphibians and reptiles also declined or vanished. The extinction changed the balance of nature and created new opportunities for surviving groups of animals. One of the major causes linked to the end Triassic extinction was intense volcanic activity in a region known today as the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province. This enormous volcanic event happened as the supercontinent Pangaea began to break apart. The volcanic eruptions released huge amounts of gases into the atmosphere, including carbon dioxide. These gases affected Earth's climate and caused major environmental changes. The volcanic activity lasted for a long period, with repeated eruptions releasing large quantities of material into the environment. The increase in carbon dioxide caused global temperatures to rise. Warmer temperatures affected oceans and land ecosystems. The oceans experienced changes in chemistry, including ocean acidification, which made survival more difficult for many marine organisms that depended on stable conditions. As temperatures increased, weather patterns also changed. Some areas became drier, while others experienced different rainfall patterns. These changes placed pressure on plants and animals that were adapted to the previous environment. Species that could not adjust to the new conditions became extinct, while others survived because they were able to adapt to changing habitats. The extinction removed many competitors and predators from ecosystems. This allowed some surviving groups to expand and become more successful during the early Jurassic period. Among these survivors were dinosaurs, which had already existed during the Triassic period, but became much more widespread after many other large land animals disappeared. Before the extinction, dinosaurs lived alongside many other groups of reptiles. They were not the only dominant animals on land. various reptiles occupied different roles in ecosystems, including large predators and herbivores. After the extinction removed many of these competitors, dinosaurs gained more opportunities to spread into different environments. The early Jurassic period was therefore a time of recovery and rebuilding. Life did not immediately return to the variety seen before the extinction. Recovery took millions of years. New ecosystems developed slowly as surviving organisms reproduced, spread, and adapted to new conditions. During the earliest Jurassic, Earth was still dominated by the effects of the changes that had occurred during the end-Triassic extinction. The climate was warmer than it had been before, and the atmosphere contained higher levels of carbon dioxide. However, over time, ecosystems became more stable, allowing many new species to appear. The geography of Earth during the beginning of the Jurassic period was also changing. During the Triassic period, most of the planet's land was connected into one huge supercontinent called Pangaea. By the start of the Jurassic, this massive land area had begun to split apart. The separation of land created new oceans, coastlines, and environments. The early stages of Pangaea's breakup strongly influenced the climate and movement of living organisms. As continents separated, populations of animals and plants became isolated from each other. Over millions of years, these isolated groups developed different characteristics and eventually formed new species. The opening of new ocean areas also changed marine environments. New seas formed between separating landmasses, creating different habitats for marine life. Coastal regions expanded, providing new areas where organisms could live and reproduce. These environmental changes played an important role in the development of Jurassic ecosystems. The oceans of the early Jurassic period began to recover after the extinction. Many marine reptiles that survived the disaster continued to live in the seas, while new groups expanded. Ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and other marine reptiles became important parts of ocean ecosystems. Fish populations also recovered and became more diverse. Marine ecosystems were also supported by the recovery of smaller organisms. Tiny ocean organisms, such as plankton, formed the foundation of many food systems. As these organisms increased, larger animals had more available food sources. This helped marine communities rebuild after the severe losses of the Triassic-Jurassic transition. On land, plant communities also changed significantly. Forests began to recover as surviving plants spread into damaged areas. Ferns, cycads, conifers, and other plant groups became common in many regions. These plants provided food and shelter for many animals that appeared during the Jurassic period. The recovery of plant life was especially important because herbivorous animals depended on vegetation for survival. As forests expanded, plant-eating dinosaurs and other herbivores found more resources. Over time, these animals became larger and more widespread across different environments. The early Jurassic period saw the continued development of dinosaurs that had survived the Triassic extinction. Theropod dinosaurs, which included meat-eating species, continued to evolve. Sauropodomorph dinosaurs, which included the ancestors of giant long-necked dinosaurs, also expanded and became more successful. Dinosaurs were able to occupy many different habitats during this period. Some lived in forests, some in open areas, and others near coastal regions. Their ability to adapt to different environments contributed to their increasing presence across the planet. The disappearance of many Triassic animals also changed predator and prey relationships. With fewer large predators remaining, some dinosaur groups faced less competition. This allowed them to grow in size and number. New ecological roles became available, and different dinosaur species began filling these roles. The early Jurassic was not only a time of dinosaur expansion. Many other animals also evolved and spread. Small mammals that had appeared during the Triassic continued to survive and develop. Although they were generally small, they became an important part of terrestrial ecosystems. Reptiles, such as crocodile relatives, also continued to exist and diversify. Some lived on land, while others adapted to freshwater environments. Turtles and other reptile groups also continued their evolutionary history. Through this changing period, the climate of the early Jurassic was generally warm compared with modern conditions. There were no large permanent ice sheets at the poles. Warm temperatures affected plant growth, ocean circulation, and the distribution of animals across the planet. The warmer climate was connected to high levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Volcanic activity during the breakup of Pangaea contributed to these conditions. The effects of this warming were felt across different regions, influencing rainfall, vegetation, and habitats. The changes that occurred at the beginning of the Jurassic period shaped the future development of life on Earth. The extinction at the end of the Triassic removed many species, but the surviving organisms entered a world with different environmental conditions and new possibilities for evolution. The recovery of life during the early Jurassic period continued over millions of years, as surviving organisms adjusted to the changed environment. The extinction event had removed many species, but the empty spaces within ecosystems allowed new relationships between plants, animals, and their surroundings to develop. The rebuilding process affected every part of the natural world, including forests, rivers, coastlines, and oceans. The first stages of recovery were difficult because ecosystems had lost many important species. Food chains had been disrupted, and many habitats had changed because of the environmental effects linked to volcanic activity. However, life forms that survived the extinction reproduced and spread into areas where other organisms had disappeared. These survivors became the foundation of new Jurassic ecosystems. Plants played an important role in restoring damaged environments. After the extinction, plant communities slowly returned in many regions. Ferns were among the plants that recovered quickly because they could spread through spores and grow in disturbed areas. Conifers also became widespread, forming forests across large parts of the land. Cycads and other seed-producing plants continued to exist and provided food for many herbivorous animals. The return of forests changed the appearance of many landscapes during the early Jurassic period. Areas that had experienced environmental stress gradually developed more stable plant communities. The growth of forests created habitats for insects, reptiles, small mammals, and dinosaurs. Plants also influenced the climate by affecting the movement of water and carbon between the land and atmosphere. As plant life recovered, herbivorous animals increased in number. Many dinosaurs depended on plant resources, and the growth of vegetation supported the expansion of large plant-eating species. Early sauropodomorph dinosaurs continued to develop, and some members of this group became larger as they adapted to environments with abundant plant material. The early Jurassic period included important changes in dinosaur evolution. Dinosaurs that survived the Triassic-Jurassic transition continued to diversify. Different groups developed different body structures, feeding habits, and ways of moving through their environments. Theropod dinosaurs remained successful predators. They included many different species that hunted smaller animals and sometimes larger prey. Their bodies were adapted for active movement, and many had strong jaws and sharp teeth. Over time, new theropod groups appeared in different parts of the world. sauropodomorph dinosaurs became increasingly important during the Jurassic. Early members of this group had already existed during the Triassic, but the Jurassic environment provided conditions. Early members of this group had already existed during the Triassic, but the Jurassic environment provided conditions that supported their growth. Some developed longer necks, larger bodies, and stronger limbs that allowed them to feed on vegetation from different heights. Another important dinosaur group that developed during the Jurassic was the Ornithischians. These plant-eating dinosaurs included early relatives of later groups such as stegosaurs and ankylosaurs. They developed different methods of eating plants and protecting themselves from predators. The recovery of ecosystems also affected smaller animals. Insects continued to evolve and became important parts of food systems. They helped with plant reproduction and served as food for many reptiles, birds, and small mammals. Freshwater environments supported insects, fish, amphibians, and reptiles. Small mammals continued their existence during the Jurassic period. These early mammals were different from many modern mammals, but they had important features that helped them survive. They were generally small animals that lived in various environments. Some were active at night, which may have helped them avoid larger predators. The oceans also experienced major changes after the end Triassic extinction. Marine ecosystems slowly regained their variety as surviving species reproduced and new groups appeared. The warm climate and changing coastlines created many different marine habitats. Ichthyosaurs remained important ocean predators during the Jurassic period. These marine reptiles had streamlined bodies adapted for swimming and hunting fish and other marine animals. Different ichthyosaur species lived in various ocean regions and developed different sizes and body forms. Plesiosaurs also became widespread during the Jurassic. These marine reptiles had different body structures, with some having long necks and others having shorter necks with larger heads. They lived in coastal waters and open seas where they hunted fish and other marine creatures. Marine crocodile relatives also occupied important roles in Jurassic oceans. Some adapted to life in the sea, developing features that helped them swim and capture prey. Others remained in freshwater habitats, where they hunted animals near rivers and lakes. Fish populations recovered after the extinction and became more diverse. Different types of fish occupied different parts of ocean environments. Some lived near reefs, while others moved through open waters. Their recovery provided food for larger marine predators. The small organisms living in oceans also increased after the extinction. Plankton populations were important because they supported many marine food systems. Tiny organisms formed the base of ocean ecosystems, providing energy for larger animals. The geography of Earth continued changing throughout the early Jurassic period. The breakup of Pangaea became more noticeable as large sections of land slowly moved apart. This process created new ocean areas and changed the arrangement of continents. During the early Jurassic, the northern part of Pangaea and the southern part of Pangaea began separating. The northern region included land that would later become parts of North America, Europe, and Asia. The southern region included land that would later form South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, and India. The separation of continents affected the movement of animals and plants. When land was connected, species could spread across large areas. As the continents separated, populations became isolated. These isolated groups experienced different environmental conditions, leading to the development of new species over long periods. The formation of new seas influenced climate patterns. Oceans affected temperature by moving heat around the planet. Coastal areas developed different conditions from inland regions, creating various habitats for living organisms. The Jurassic climate was influenced by volcanic activity and changes in geography. The large amounts of carbon dioxide released by volcanic eruptions contributed to warmer global temperatures. The warm conditions affected rainfall patterns and plant distribution. Many regions during the early Jurassic experienced seasonal changes. Some areas received regular rainfall and supported thick forests, while others were drier and supported different types of vegetation. These regional differences allowed many kinds of animals to develop. The atmosphere during this period contained higher levels of carbon dioxide than today. This affected plant growth because plants use carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. Higher levels of this gas supported the growth of many plant communities, although the overall environmental effects were complex. The oceans were also affected by changes in atmospheric conditions. Warmer temperatures influenced ocean circulation and marine chemistry. Some marine organisms faced challenges while others adapted to the new conditions. The early Jurassic period was a time when ecosystems were reorganizing after a major disturbance. The extinction had changed the types of organisms living on Earth, and the recovery process created new patterns of life. Dinosaurs became more common on land, marine reptiles expanded in the oceans, and plant communities developed across changing landscapes. The environment of the Jurassic was shaped by both biological recovery and geological activity. The movement of continents, volcanic eruptions, climate changes, and the growth of new ecosystems all influenced the direction of evolution. The transition from the Triassic period to the Jurassic period was marked by major changes in the structure of life on Earth. The disappearance of many species created conditions where surviving groups could expand. Over time, new communities formed, and the planet entered a period with different animals, plants, and environments. The early Jurassic world contained many different landscapes. There were large forests, coastal regions, rivers, lakes, and expanding oceans. Each environment supported different groups of organisms. The interaction between living things and their surroundings shaped the development of ecosystems throughout the period. The recovery after the end Triassic extinction shows how life responded to severe environmental changes. Although many organisms disappeared, others survived and adapted. The early Jurassic period recorded the beginning of major biological changes that continued for millions of years. During the Jurassic period, which began about 201 million years ago and lasted until about 145 million years ago, the surface of Earth experienced major changes that shaped the landscapes, oceans, and environments that existed during this important part of geological history. The continents that had once been joined together in a large landmass called Pangaea slowly moved apart, creating new seas, changing coastlines, and forming different regions where plants and animals developed in new ways. The movement of the continents was a slow process that happened over millions of years, but its effects changed the entire structure of Earth's surface. At the beginning of the Jurassic period, Pangaea was still a very large connected continent. It had formed over hundreds of millions of years as smaller landmasses came together through the movement of Earth's tectonic plates. This huge landmass contained almost all of Earth's continental areas joined into one large region. However, by the time the Jurassic period began, the forces beneath Earth's surface had already started creating cracks and weaknesses in Pangaea. These cracks slowly expanded as tectonic plates moved, leading to the separation of the continent into smaller pieces. The movement of continents is caused by the activity of tectonic plates, which are large sections of Earth's outer rocky layer. These plates move slowly because of heat and movement inside Earth. Although the movement is usually only a few centimeters each year, the changes become very large when measured across millions of years. During the Jurassic period, these movements caused Pangaea to break apart and created the arrangement of continents that continued developing during later geological periods. The breakup of Pangaea did not happen suddenly. It was a long process that started before the Jurassic period and continued for many millions of years afterward. The early stages of this separation created large cracks in the continental crust. These cracks allowed volcanic activity to increase in some regions, and lava flowed into the growing spaces between land areas. As the cracks widened, they eventually became new ocean basins filled with seawater. At the start of the Jurassic period, Pangaea was beginning to divide into two major continental groups. The northern part became known as Laurasia, while the southern part became known as Gondwana. These two large regions contained the future continents that would later move into their modern positions. The separation between Laurasia and Gondwana was one of the most important geological events of the Jurassic period because it changed the shape of Earth's land and water areas. Laurasia included the land that would later become North America, Europe, and much of Asia. Gondwana contained the land that would later become South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, and the Indian subcontinent. During the Jurassic period, these regions were still connected in different ways, but the movement of tectonic plates gradually pushed them apart. The separation of Laurasia and Gondwana was connected to the opening of a large ocean area known as the Central Atlantic Ocean. Before this ocean existed, the eastern part of North America and the western part of Europe and Africa were connected as part of Pangaea. As the continental crust stretched and broke, seawater began entering the widening gap. Over time, this became the early Atlantic Ocean. The opening of new oceans changed the climate and environments of many areas. Large inland regions that had once been far from the sea became closer to coastlines. New shallow seas developed along continental edges, creating environments where many marine organisms could live. These coastal areas became important places for the growth of reefs, the development of marine ecosystems, and the preservation of fossils. The movement of Laurasia and Gondwana also changed the position of mountain ranges, rivers, and deserts. When continents move, they affect weather patterns because the location of land influences wind movement, rainfall, and temperature. During the Jurassic period, some areas that had previously experienced dry conditions became wetter as they moved closer to oceans. Other areas developed different climates because of their changing positions on Earth. At the beginning of the Jurassic period, much of the interior of Pangaea was dry because large areas of land were located far away from the influence of oceans. Rainfall often had difficulty reaching these central regions, creating wide desert areas. As Pangaea continued breaking apart, oceans moved closer to many regions, increasing moisture levels and creating more varied environments. The breakup of Pangaea also affected the distribution of living organisms. When continents are connected, animals and plants can move across large areas of land. When continents separate, populations become isolated. Over millions of years, isolated groups of organisms can develop different characteristics because they experience different environments. During the Jurassic period, the changing continents influenced where dinosaurs, marine reptiles, plants, and other organisms lived. The separation between Laurasia and Gondwana was not a simple, straight division. The process involved many smaller movements, changes in the shape of coastlines, and the creation of temporary connections between land areas. Some regions separated earlier than others, while some remained connected for longer periods. The changing geography created many different environments across Earth. As the continents moved apart, new coastal regions developed around the edges of the separating landmasses. These coastal environments included beaches, shallow seas, lagoons, tidal areas, and underwater continental shelves. These places supported many forms of life because they contained sunlight, nutrients, and suitable conditions for organisms to grow. The shallow seas created during the Jurassic period became important habitats for many marine animals. These waters contained large numbers of fish, marine reptiles, shell-producing animals, and small organisms that formed the base of marine food systems. The development of new ocean areas increased the number of marine environments available for different species. One of the major changes during the Jurassic period was the development of the Atlantic Ocean. The early Atlantic was much narrower than it is today, but its formation marked a major change in Earth's geography. The continued movement of North America away from Africa and Europe slowly widened the ocean basin. New ocean crust formed as molten material from inside Earth rose through cracks in the seafloor and cooled into solid rock. The creation of new ocean crust is part of a process called seafloor spreading. This process occurs when tectonic plates move away from each other. As the plates separate, new rock forms along the gap. Over long periods of time, this pushes continents farther apart and creates larger ocean areas. During the Jurassic period, similar processes occurred in other regions. The southern parts of Pangaea also began changing as Gondwana experienced internal movements. Large cracks formed within Gondwana, eventually leading to the separation of regions that would become Africa, South America, Antarctica, Australia, and India. The early stages of Gondwana's breakup were complex and happened over a long period. Some areas separated while others remained connected. The movement of these land areas influenced ocean circulation, climate patterns, and the environments where plants and animals lived. The changing shape of Gondwana affected the southern oceans. As new ocean spaces developed between separating land areas, marine environments expanded, coastal regions became more common, and many areas that had once been inland became influenced by nearby seas. The Jurassic period was therefore a time when Earth's surface was being reorganized on a massive scale. The continents were not fixed, they were slowly moving because of the forces inside the planet. These movements created new landscapes, changed existing ones, and established the foundations of many modern continental arrangements. The landscapes of the Jurassic world included wide floodplains, forests, volcanic regions, mountain areas, deserts, and coastal zones. The appearance of these landscapes was strongly connected to the movement of continents. As land moved into different positions, new environments formed and existing environments changed. Large river systems developed across the changing continents. Rivers carried sediments from higher areas into lowlands and coastal regions. Over millions of years, these sediments built layers of rock that preserved evidence of Jurassic life and environments. Many dinosaur fossils, plant remains, and marine fossils have been discovered in rocks that formed from these ancient landscapes. The separation of continents also created new opportunities for the development of different ecosystems. Areas that were once connected could become separated by oceans, while regions near new coastlines gained access to marine resources. The movement of land and water influenced the spread and development of life throughout the Jurassic period. The formation of Jurassic landscapes was closely connected with volcanic activity. As continents separated, cracks in Earth's crust allowed magma to rise toward the surface. Volcanic eruptions occurred in some areas, producing layers of volcanic rock and releasing gases into the atmosphere. These activities contributed to changes in local environments and affected the geological record. The changing geography of the Jurassic period created a world with many different habitats. Forests expanded in many regions because warmer and wetter conditions developed in several areas. Conifer trees, cycads, ferns, and other plants covered large portions of the land. These plant communities supported many herbivorous dinosaurs and other land animals. The movement of continents continued throughout the entire Jurassic period. The positions of landmasses at the beginning of the period were different from their positions near the end. The oceans continued expanding, coastlines continued changing, and new geological features developed as tectonic activity continued. As the Jurassic period continued, the separation of the continents became more noticeable and the effects of the breakup of Pangaea became stronger across Earth. The movement of tectonic plates continued to reshape the planet's surface, creating wider ocean spaces, changing the positions of continents and producing new coastal regions. The landscapes that developed during this time were closely connected to the slow movement of land and the formation of new seas. The northern continent of Laurasia continued moving away from Gondwana as the oceans between them expanded. This separation created new boundaries between land and water. Areas that had once been connected by continuous land became separated by expanding seas. The growth of these seas changed the way water moved around the planet and affected the environments along the edges of continents. Laurasia itself also experienced major changes during the Jurassic period. The land that would later become North America began moving away from Africa and Europe. This movement created spaces that filled with seawater and contributed to the early development of the Atlantic Ocean. The western part of Europe and parts of Asia also experienced changes as smaller sections of land shifted and new marine environments formed. The separation of Laurasia created many shallow seas along continental edges. These shallow waters were often warm and rich in nutrients. They supported large communities of marine organisms, including different types of fish, marine reptiles, shell-producing animals, and tiny organisms that lived in the water. The presence of these shallow seas also influenced the rocks that formed during the Jurassic period, because sediments from rivers and marine organisms collected in these areas. Gondwana also continued changing during the Jurassic period. Although it remained a large southern landmass for much of this time, internal movements within the continent created cracks and areas of weakness. These changes eventually led to further separation of its parts. The regions that would become Africa, South America, Antarctica, Australia, and India began moving in different directions over millions of years. The eastern part of Gondwana experienced important geological changes. The land that would later become India began moving away from other parts of Gondwana much later, but the early movements that affected the southern continents were already developing during the Jurassic period. These movements created new ocean spaces and changed the arrangement of land in the southern regions of Earth. The opening of new oceans was one of the most important results of the breakup of Pangaea. Oceans are not permanent features. They form, expand, and sometimes close as tectonic plates move. During the Jurassic period, several ocean basins developed as continents separated. These new oceans changed global geography and created new environments for marine life. The central Atlantic Ocean continued expanding during the Jurassic period. The process began with cracks forming in Pangaea, followed by the movement of continents away from each other. As the distance between land areas increased, the ocean became wider and deeper. The formation of the Atlantic changed the relationship between continents and influenced future geological events. The development of new oceans also changed coastal environments. Before the breakup of Pangaea, many areas were located far from large bodies of water. As continents separated, more regions gained coastlines. New beaches, coastal plains, shallow marine areas, and underwater shelves developed around the edges of continents. Coastal environments were especially important because they contained many different conditions that supported life. Rivers carried nutrients from land into the sea, creating productive areas where many organisms could survive. The meeting point between land and water allowed different ecosystems to exist close together. During the Jurassic Period, large areas of continental shelves developed. Continental shelves are shallow underwater areas around the edges of continents. They receive sunlight and contain many nutrients, making them suitable places for marine organisms. Many fossils from Jurassic seas have been discovered in rocks that formed in these shallow environments. The changing coastlines also influenced sediment formation. Rivers transported sand, mud, and other materials from the land into coastal areas. Over time, these materials formed layers of sedimentary rock. These rocks preserved evidence of ancient environments, including remains of plants, animals, and marine organisms. The movement of continents affected the position of mountain ranges as well. When tectonic plates move, they can create areas where rocks are pushed upward, forming mountains. During the Jurassic Period, some mountain-building activities occurred as plates interacted with each other. These geological processes changed landscapes and influenced the flow of rivers and the development of valleys. The breakup of Pangaea also affected climate patterns. The location of continents influences how heat moves around Earth. Large landmasses can create different temperature conditions because they interact differently with sunlight, winds, and oceans. As Pangaea separated, new ocean currents developed, and moisture could move into areas that were previously dry. The Jurassic climate was generally warm compared with many other periods in Earth's history. There were no large permanent ice sheets covering the continents. Many regions experienced conditions suitable for forests and plant growth. However, climate conditions varied depending on location, elevation, and distance from oceans. The movement of continents changed rainfall patterns across different regions. Areas that moved closer to oceans often received more moisture, while some inland regions remained relatively dry. The development of new coastlines increased the number of environments where plants and animals could live. The landscapes of the Jurassic Period contained many types of environments. Large forests covered parts of the continents, especially in areas with enough rainfall. Open plains, river valleys, wetlands, and coastal areas also existed. Each environment supported different groups of organisms. The breakup of Pangaea had a major influence on dinosaur distribution. During the early Jurassic Period, many land areas were still connected enough for animals to move between regions. As continents separated, populations became divided by new oceans and changing landscapes. Over time, different regions developed their own groups of animals. The separation of continents also influenced marine reptiles. As new oceans and coastal areas formed, marine habitats expanded. Animals such as ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and other marine reptiles lived in the growing seas. The availability of different marine environments allowed many species to develop and occupy different areas of the oceans. The formation of new oceans also affected ocean circulation. Water could move through newly created pathways between continents, changing the movement of heat and nutrients around the planet. These changes influenced marine ecosystems and affected the distribution of ocean life. Volcanic activity remained important during the Jurassic Period. The stretching and breaking of continental crust created areas where magma could rise. Volcanic regions formed in some places, adding new layers of rock to the landscape. These volcanic activities also contributed to the formation of minerals and geological structures that are studied today. The changing continents also affected underground processes. As new ocean crust formed, older ocean crust moved away from spreading areas. Some sections of ocean crust eventually moved toward other tectonic boundaries, where they could be pushed beneath continents. These processes continued shaping Earth's surface throughout the Jurassic Period. The coastal environments created during this time became important locations for the preservation of fossils. When organisms died in marine and coastal areas, their remains could become buried by sediments. Over millions of years, these remains became fossils that provide information about Jurassic ecosystems. Many Jurassic rocks around the world formed in environments connected to the breakup of Pangaea. Fossils found in these rocks reveal information about ancient coastlines, rivers, oceans, and forests. They show how the changing geography influenced life during this period. The movement of continents also changed the shape of river systems. When land rises, sinks, or shifts position, rivers can change their paths. During the Jurassic period, new drainage systems developed as continents moved and landscapes changed. Rivers transported materials across the land and helped shape valleys and plains. The development of new oceans created many islands and coastal regions. Some areas that were once part of larger landmasses became separated pieces of land surrounded by water. These island environments provided unique habitats where certain organisms could become isolated. The Jurassic period was therefore a time of major geographical transformation. The breakup of Pangaea created the foundations for many of the continents and oceans that exist today. The separation of Laurasia and Gondwana changed the arrangement of land and water, while the creation of new oceans produced new coastal environments. The geological changes of this period happened slowly, but they affected every part of Earth's surface. The movement of continents influenced climate, ocean systems, landscapes, and the distribution of living organisms. The Jurassic world was shaped by these continuous changes as Earth's tectonic plates moved and reorganized the planet. The changing geography of the Jurassic period continued to influence the appearance of many different landscapes across Earth. As the continents moved farther apart, the surfaces of the land areas changed through erosion, sediment movement, volcanic activity, and changes in sea levels. These processes created a wide variety of environments, including river valleys, coastal plains, inland basins, forests, and marine regions. The movement of continents affected the size and shape of lowland areas where sediments collected. When mountains and highlands were worn down by wind and water, the broken rock materials were carried by rivers and deposited in lower regions. Over long periods, these deposits formed thick layers of rock that recorded the history of Jurassic environments. Many of these rock layers contain fossils of plants, animals, and small organisms that lived during this time. The development of new coastal areas created important environments along the edges of the separating continents. These regions were constantly changing because of tides, waves, river activity, and movements of the land. Coastal plains often contained wetlands and areas with rich plant growth. These environments supported many animals because they provided water, vegetation, and shelter. The Jurassic coastline was not a fixed boundary. It changed repeatedly as continents moved and sea levels rose or fell. Some areas that were once dry land became covered by shallow seas, while other areas that had been underwater became exposed land. These changes created a mixture of land and marine environments across many regions. The expansion of ocean areas also influenced the development of marine ecosystems. As new seas formed, different groups of marine organisms occupied these spaces. The availability of new habitats allowed marine communities to spread across wider areas. Coral communities, shell-producing animals, fish and marine reptiles lived in many of these Jurassic seas. The shallow seas around the continents were especially important because they received materials from rivers flowing from land. Rivers carried minerals and nutrients into these waters, supporting the growth of many organisms. These areas also became places where sediments accumulated, preserving evidence of ancient marine environments. The changing positions of continents influenced the movement of ocean currents. As continents separated, pathways for seawater changed. New connections between ocean regions developed, allowing water to flow in different directions. These changes affected temperatures, nutrient movement, and the conditions experienced by marine life. The breakup of Pangaea also changed the distribution of rainfall across the planet. Large continents often create strong differences between coastal and inland climates. During the Jurassic period, as land areas separated and oceans expanded, moisture from the seas reached more regions. This helped create environments where forests and other plant communities could develop. The plant life of the Jurassic period was strongly connected to the changing landscapes. Many areas that became wetter-supported forests containing conifers, ferns, cycads, and other plants. These forests spread across large parts of the continents and formed the foundation of many food systems on land. The development of new land environments affected the movement and survival of terrestrial animals. Herbivorous dinosaurs depended on plant communities that were influenced by climate and geography. When continents moved, the types of plants available in different regions changed. This affected which animals could live in certain areas. The separation of land areas also created barriers between animal populations. When oceans formed between regions that were previously connected, some groups of animals could no longer move freely between those areas. Over long periods, isolated populations developed their own patterns of adaptation to local conditions. The Jurassic Earth existed during a period of major environmental change that lasted from about 201 million years ago to about 145 million years ago. During this long period, the planet experienced important changes in temperature, atmosphere, land arrangement, oceans, rainfall patterns, and natural habitats. The environment of the Jurassic period was shaped by the movement of continents, volcanic activity, changes in sea levels, and the growth of different plant communities. These conditions affected the lives of dinosaurs, marine reptiles, insects, early mammals, flying reptiles, and many other forms of life that lived during this time. The climate of the Jurassic Earth was generally warm, with high global temperatures compared with many later periods of Earth's history. There were no large permanent ice sheets covering the polar regions. The warmer climate was connected to high levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, especially carbon dioxide. These gases trapped heat from the sun and helped maintain warmer conditions across much of the planet. The amount of carbon dioxide in the Jurassic atmosphere was much higher than the amount found in the atmosphere today. This affected temperatures, plant growth, rainfall, and the chemical conditions of the oceans. During the beginning of the Jurassic period, the Earth was recovering from the major environmental changes that occurred at the end of the Triassic period. Around 201 million years ago, a major extinction event affected many groups of animals and changed ecosystems around the world. Large volcanic eruptions in the region that later became the Atlantic Ocean released huge amounts of gases into the atmosphere. These volcanic activities increased carbon dioxide levels and caused major changes in climate and ocean conditions. After this extinction event, the Jurassic climate became more stable over time. Warm conditions allowed many plants to spread across large areas of land. Forests expanded in many regions, creating habitats that supported large numbers of plant-eating dinosaurs and other animals. The warm climate also influenced the water cycle. Higher temperatures caused more evaporation from oceans, which affected rainfall patterns in different parts of the world. The Jurassic atmosphere contained enough oxygen to support large land animals, although oxygen levels were different from those of modern times. Plants played an important role in maintaining atmospheric conditions because they absorbed carbon dioxide and released oxygen through photosynthesis. Vast forests of ferns, conifers, cycads, and other ancient plants covered many areas. These plants formed the foundation of many food systems because they provided energy for herbivorous animals, which then supported larger predators. The arrangement of continents strongly influenced Jurassic climate patterns. At the beginning of the Jurassic period, the supercontinent Pangaea was still breaking apart. This enormous landmass had formed from the joining of many smaller continents over hundreds of millions of years. During the Jurassic period, internal forces beneath Earth's surface caused cracks to develop, and these cracks slowly widened into new ocean basins. The breakup of Pangaea changed weather patterns because large areas of land became separated by growing oceans. When continents were joined together, large inland areas experienced dry conditions because they were far from sources of moisture. As the continents separated, new coastlines developed and more regions gained access to ocean moisture. This helped create different environments with varying levels of rainfall and temperature. The Jurassic world contained many different climate zones. Some areas experienced heavy rainfall and supported thick forests, while other regions were much drier and contained open landscapes with fewer plants. The presence of deserts, dry plains, wetlands, forests, and coastal regions created many different habitats where different species could survive. Rainforests and humid forests were common in many parts of the Jurassic world. These forests contained tall conifer trees, fern plants, cycads, and other vegetation. Unlike modern flowering plants, which became widespread much later, Jurassic forests were mainly dominated by non-flowering plants. These forests provided food and shelter for many animals. Large plant-eating dinosaurs depended heavily on these plant communities. Animals such as long-necked sauropods consumed large amounts of vegetation every day. The availability of extensive plant resources allowed some dinosaurs to grow to very large sizes. The warm climate and widespread plant growth created suitable conditions for many herbivorous species. The forests of the Jurassic period were not the same everywhere. Different regions had different plant communities depending on temperature, rainfall, soil conditions, and geographic location. Some areas contained dense forests near rivers and coastlines, while other areas had more open vegetation. These differences influenced which animals could live in each environment. Dry regions also existed during the Jurassic period. Some parts of the continents were affected by limited rainfall, especially areas located far from oceans. These regions could contain deserts, dry plains, and areas with scattered vegetation. Animals living in these environments developed ways to survive with fewer water sources and limited plant availability. Rivers and lakes were important parts of Jurassic environments. Freshwater systems provided drinking water for land animals and supported many aquatic organisms. Rivers also transported sediments, creating fertile areas where plants could grow. These freshwater environments contained fish, amphibians, reptiles, insects, and other forms of life. Changes in rainfall and climate affected the distribution of habitats throughout the Jurassic period. Some areas that were once dry could become wetter as continents moved and ocean systems changed. Other areas could become drier because they became farther from moisture sources. These environmental changes caused animals and plants to spread into new regions or disappear from areas where conditions became unsuitable. The development of new oceans was one of the most important environmental changes of the Jurassic period. As Pangaea separated, large cracks formed between land areas. These cracks gradually filled with seawater, creating new marine environments. The early stages of the Atlantic Ocean began developing during this period as the continents that would later become North America, Europe, and Africa slowly moved apart. The growth of new oceans changed global geography. Coastal environments expanded, creating new shallow seas, islands, and continental margins. These areas became rich habitats for many marine organisms. Shallow coastal waters received sunlight and nutrients, allowing large communities of plants and animals to develop. Jurassic oceans contained a wide variety of marine life. Marine reptiles such as ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and marine crocodile relatives lived in these waters. Many types of fish, sharks, shellfish, and other sea animals also inhabited Jurassic seas. The changing ocean environments created new opportunities for marine species to evolve and spread. The chemical conditions of Jurassic oceans were influenced by atmospheric changes, volcanic activity, and the movement of continents. Carbon dioxide levels affected the balance of carbon in seawater. Changes in ocean chemistry influenced marine organisms that depended on minerals to build shells and body structures. Coastal environments were especially important because they connected land and sea ecosystems. Rivers carried nutrients from land into coastal waters, supporting marine life. Coastal areas also provided habitats for animals that moved between land and water. Many reptiles and other animals depended on these environments for feeding and reproduction. The expansion of coastlines during the Jurassic period also affected weather patterns. Oceans helped distribute heat around the planet through ocean currents. As new seas formed, they influenced regional climates by changing wind patterns and rainfall distribution. The Jurassic environment was therefore shaped by constant geological activity. The movement of continents, volcanic eruptions, changing sea levels, and atmospheric changes created a planet with many different habitats. These environmental conditions controlled where forests grew, where deserts formed, where oceans expanded, and where different forms of life could survive. The warm greenhouse conditions of the Jurassic period supported extensive plant growth and allowed many ecosystems to develop. However, these conditions were not identical across the entire planet. Different regions experienced different combinations of heat, rainfall, and geography. Some areas were wet and covered with vegetation, while others remained dry and had limited plant life. The relationship between climate and living organisms was very important during the Jurassic period. Plants responded to temperature and rainfall changes, and animals depended on the availability of plants and other organisms for survival. Changes in the environment influenced migration, population growth, and the development of new species. Jurassic Earth was a planet with active geological processes and changing environments. Its atmosphere, climate, oceans, and landscapes continued to change throughout millions of years, creating many different conditions for life on land and in the seas. The evolution of early birds and the connection between dinosaurs and flight is one of the most important areas of study in understanding how life changed during the Mesozoic era. Birds that exist today did not suddenly appear in their modern form. Their history began with ancient animals that lived millions of years ago, especially certain groups of dinosaurs that developed features connected with feathers, lightweight bodies, and movements that later became important for flight. The story of early birds shows how small changes in body structure, behavior, and survival methods gradually shaped a new group of animals that would continue to exist after many dinosaur groups disappeared. During the Jurassic Period, which began about 201 million years ago and ended about 145 million years ago, many different types of dinosaurs lived across the Earth. Among these dinosaurs were theropods, a group that included many meat-eating dinosaurs. Theropods had features that later became important in the evolution of birds. Many of them walked on two legs, had hollow bones, had strong hind limbs, and had bodies that allowed quick movement. Over a long period of time, some small theropod dinosaurs developed new body features that helped them survive in different environments. The connection between dinosaurs and birds became clearer as scientists discovered fossils showing that some dinosaurs had feathers. For many years, birds were considered separate from dinosaurs because their bodies looked different from the large dinosaurs known from earlier discoveries. However, fossil evidence showed that birds developed from a group of small theropod dinosaurs. These discoveries changed the understanding of dinosaur evolution and showed that some dinosaurs continued their history through modern birds. The earliest bird-like dinosaurs were not exactly the same as the birds that live today. They had a mixture of dinosaur and bird features. Some had long tails made of many bones, claws on their fingers, teeth in their jaws, and feather coverings on their bodies. At the same time, they also had features that would later become common among birds, such as feathers, lightweight skeletons, and body shapes connected with movement through the air. One important group connected with early bird evolution was the Maniraptoran theropods. These dinosaurs lived mainly during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. They included groups such as dromaeosaurs, troodontids, and other small feathered dinosaurs. These animals had long arms, flexible wrists, and feathers that covered parts of their bodies. Their fossils provide important evidence about the gradual changes that occurred before true birds appeared. Feathers were one of the most important developments in the history of bird evolution. Modern birds use feathers mainly for flight, keeping their bodies warm and displaying colors for communication. However, the earliest feathers did not necessarily appear for flying. Scientists believe that feathers first developed for other purposes before becoming useful for flight. Early feathers may have helped dinosaurs control body temperature by keeping heat inside their bodies. They may also have helped with communication, protection, and attracting mates. The earliest feathers were simple structures. They were not like the large flight feathers found on modern birds. Some early feathered dinosaurs had small hair-like coverings. Over time, these structures became more complex. They developed branches and stronger shapes that could support movement through the air. This gradual development allowed feathers to serve more functions as dinosaurs evolved. The discovery of feathered dinosaurs provided important information about how flight developed. Flight did not appear as a sudden ability. It developed through many stages. Some small dinosaurs may have used their feathered arms for balance while running. Others may have used their feathers to move between trees or to control falls from higher places. These movements created opportunities for better control in the air over many generations. The environment also played an important role in the development of early flight abilities. During the Jurassic Period, many forests existed in different parts of the world. These forests provided trees, insects, small animals, and other resources that could support small feathered dinosaurs. Animals living among trees could benefit from body features that helped them climb, jump, and move safely between different areas. One of the most famous animals connected with the origin of birds is Archaeopteryx. It lived during the late Jurassic period about 150 million years ago. The first known fossil remains of Archaeopteryx were discovered in Germany in the year 1861, only a few years after the publication of On the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. Its discovery became extremely important because it showed a combination of dinosaur and bird features. Archaeopteryx had feathers and wings, which are features associated with birds. However, it also had several characteristics found in dinosaurs. It had sharp teeth, a long bony tail, clawed fingers, and a skeleton similar to small theropod dinosaurs. These features showed that early birds still carried many traits from their dinosaur ancestors. The body of Archaeopteryx was small, with a length of about half a metre. It had strong legs, a feather-covered body, and wings formed from modified front limbs. Its feathers had a structure that was suitable for controlling movement through the air. The arrangement of its feathers suggests that it was capable of some form of flight, although scientists continue to study exactly how it moved and how powerful its flying ability was. Archaeopteryx lived in a warm environment with islands, forests, and shallow seas. The area where its fossils were found was part of a region that had many small animals and plants. It likely moved through forest environments, searching for insects, small animals, and other sources of food. Its ability to use wings and feathers gave it new ways to move through its surroundings. The importance of Archaeopteryx comes from the evidence it provided about the relationship between dinosaurs and birds. Before its discovery, scientists had fewer examples, showing how major groups of animals were connected through evolution. Archaeopteryx provided a fossil showing a stage where dinosaur features and bird features existed together in one animal. After Archaeopteryx, many other fossils helped scientists understand the development of early birds. During the Cretaceous period, which lasted from about 145 million years ago to 66 million years ago, many types of early birds appeared. Some had teeth, long tails, and claws, while others developed features closer to modern birds. Groups such as Confuciusornis, Microraptor, and Anchiornis provided more information about the variety of feathered dinosaurs and early birds. These animals showed that feather development was widespread among small theropods. Their fossils revealed different feather arrangements, body shapes, and movement abilities. Microraptor was a small feathered dinosaur that lived during the early Cretaceous period, about 120 million years ago. It had feathers on its arms and legs, creating a body structure that allowed it to move through the air. Fossils of Microraptor showed that some dinosaurs experimented with different ways of using feathers and limbs for movement. Anchiornis lived during the late Jurassic period, about 160 million years ago. It had a covering of feathers and possessed many features connected with the early stages of bird evolution. Its fossils helped scientists understand that feathered dinosaurs existed before Archaeopteryx, and that the development of bird-like features happened over a long period. The development of flight required many changes in the bodies of early birds and their dinosaur relatives. The skeleton needed to become lighter while remaining strong. The arms needed to change into structures capable of supporting feathers. The muscles connected with movement had to develop. The body also needed better control during movement through the air. The bones of many bird ancestors became hollow, reducing weight while maintaining strength. This feature helped make movement easier. Modern birds have lightweight skeletons, and this feature can be traced back to their dinosaur ancestors. The development of a flexible wrist was also important because it allowed the wings to fold and move in ways useful for flight. The structure of the shoulder and chest also changed during bird evolution. Flying requires powerful movements of the wings, which depend on strong muscles and suitable bones. Early birds gradually developed changes in these areas that improved their ability to move through the air. Feathers continued to change as birds evolved. Early feathers had many possible uses, including warmth, display, and movement control. Over time, some feathers became longer, stronger, and better shaped for producing lift and controlling flight. Different feather types developed for different purposes, allowing birds to become more specialized. The evolution of flight was connected with changes in behavior as well. Some small dinosaurs may have climbed trees, jumped between branches, or used their arms for stability while moving quickly. These activities could have encouraged the development of better control in the air. Animals that could move more effectively in their environments had opportunities to find food, avoid danger, and reach new areas. The relationship between dinosaurs and birds is supported by many lines of fossil evidence. Fossils show changes in bone structure, feathers, body size, and movement abilities. The discoveries of feathered dinosaurs have expanded knowledge of how birds developed from ancient dinosaur groups. During the Jurassic Period, which lasted from about 201 million years ago to about 145 million years ago, a group of dinosaurs developed into some of the largest land animals that have ever lived. These dinosaurs were called sauropods. They were known for their extremely long necks, long tails, large bodies, thick legs, small heads, and plant-based diet. Over millions of years, sauropods changed from smaller early forms into huge animals that spread across many parts of the ancient world. The rise of sauropod dinosaurs began after major changes happened on Earth following the end of the Triassic period. At that time, many groups of animals disappeared during a major extinction event. The loss of many species created new opportunities for surviving animals to expand into different environments. Early dinosaurs that survived this period began to develop new body forms and ways of living. Among these dinosaurs were the ancestors of sauropods. The earliest sauropod relatives were much smaller than the famous giant species that appeared later. They walked on two legs, or partly on two legs, and had bodies that were not yet built for extreme size. These early animals belong to groups known as sauropodomorphs. They lived during the late Triassic period and showed several features that would later become important in true sauropods. Early sauropodomorphs had longer necks than many other dinosaurs, which helped them reach plants in different areas. Their teeth were shaped for eating plant material, and their bodies slowly became better suited for a diet based on leaves and other vegetation. As generations passed, their necks became longer, their bodies became heavier, and their movement changed from a partly two-legged style to a fully four-legged walking style. The change from smaller early forms into giant sauropods happened gradually through many millions of years. Their bones developed special features that allowed them to grow larger, while keeping their bodies strong. One important change was the development of hollow spaces inside many bones. These spaces reduced the weight of their skeletons, while keeping their bones strong enough to support their massive bodies. Sauropods also developed a different body structure from many other dinosaurs. Their legs became straight and column-like, positioned directly beneath their bodies. This arrangement helped them carry their increasing weight. Their feet became wide and strong, spreading their body weight across the ground. their tails became longer and heavier, helping with balance as their bodies increased in size. The growth of sauropods was strongly connected to their ability to eat large amounts of plants. Their bodies required a constant supply of food because of their enormous size. They developed long necks that allowed them to collect plants from wide areas without moving their entire bodies frequently. This helped them save energy while feeding. The long neck of sauropods was one of their most important features. Scientists have studied many possible reasons for this unusual body shape. A long neck allowed these dinosaurs to reach vegetation at different heights, from low plants near the ground to leaves higher above the surface. It also allowed them to cover a larger feeding area while standing in one place. Different sauropod species had different neck shapes and sizes depending on their environments and feeding habits. Some had extremely long necks, while others had shorter but stronger necks. The structure of their neck bones allowed them to support their long necks while still being able to move them. The development of giant sauropods reached a high point during the Jurassic Period. During this time, Earth had warm conditions in many regions, large areas of vegetation, and changing landscapes that provided suitable environments for many plant-eating dinosaurs. Forests, floodplains, and coastal areas supported large amounts of plant life that could provide food for growing sauropod populations. One of the most famous Jurassic sauropods was Brachiosaurus. It lived during the late Jurassic period, around 154 million to 140 million years ago. Brachiosaurus was known for its unusually tall body shape. Its front legs were longer than its back legs, giving it a high shoulder position. This body structure allowed its head to reach vegetation that was higher above the ground. Brachiosaurus had a long neck, a relatively small head, and a large body supported by 4 powerful legs. Its neck contained many vertebrae that were adapted to support its length. Its skull had openings that reduced weight and allowed it to carry its head more easily. The size of Brachiosaurus was among the largest known for Jurassic dinosaurs. Estimates suggest that some individuals may have reached lengths of around 22 meters and weighed several tens of tons. Because of its size, it needed to consume large amounts of plant material every day to maintain its energy. Brachiosaurus likely fed on leaves from tall trees and other high vegetation. Its long neck allowed it to reach areas that were difficult for many other plant-eating dinosaurs to access. Its teeth were shaped for removing plant material rather than chewing it. Like many sauropods, it probably swallowed food with little chewing, because its teeth were mainly used for collecting vegetation. The digestive system of sauropods played an important role in processing their food. Since they could not chew plants thoroughly, they depended on a large digestive system where plant material could be broken down over time. Large amounts of plant matter passed through their bodies, where bacteria and other organisms helped release nutrients. Another famous Jurassic sauropod was Diplodocus. It lived approximately 154 million to 152 million years ago in areas that are now part of North America. Diplodocus had an extremely long tail, a long neck, and a relatively slender body compared with some other giant sauropods. Diplodocus was one of the longest dinosaurs known from the Jurassic period. Some individuals may have reached lengths of more than 25 meters. Much of this length came from its neck and tail. Its tail contained many vertebrae and may have helped with balance as the animal moved and fed. The head of Diplodocus was small compared with the size of its body. Its jaws contained narrow, peg-like teeth located mainly at the front of the mouth. These teeth were suitable for stripping leaves from branches. Scientists believe Diplodocus may have used its teeth to remove vegetation from plants, rather than biting through thick branches. The feeding behavior of Diplodocus was different from some other large sauropods. Its long neck allowed it to sweep through areas of vegetation and collect plants from different positions. It could lower its head to feed on shorter plants and raise its neck to reach higher vegetation. Sauropods such as Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus were able to survive for millions of years because they developed several important physical and behavioral features. Their large bodies helped protect them from many predators because adult individuals were difficult for most meat-eating dinosaurs to attack. Their size also allowed them to travel long distances in search of food and water. Young sauropods faced different challenges from adults. Newly hatched sauropods were small and vulnerable. They needed to grow quickly to reduce the risk of being attacked by predators. Fossil evidence shows that young sauropods had different body proportions from adults, with shorter necks and tails. Growth in sauropods was extremely rapid compared with many modern animals. Their bones show evidence that they experienced periods of fast development. A young sauropod could increase greatly in size during its early years. This rapid growth helped some individuals reach large sizes before predators could threaten them easily. The growth process of sauropods was connected to their food supply and environment. Areas with abundant vegetation allowed young and adult animals to obtain enough nutrients. When environmental conditions provided large amounts of plant material, sauropod populations could increase. Sauropods also showed signs of social behavior. Some fossil discoveries suggest that certain species moved in groups. Tracks found in different locations show multiple individuals traveling together. Group movement may have provided protection for younger animals and helped them travel across large areas. The spread of sauropods across the ancient continents was also connected to changes in Earth's geography. During the Jurassic Period, the supercontinent Pangaea was breaking apart. New land areas and changing environments created different habitats where sauropods could live. Fossils of sauropods have been found in regions that were once connected, but are now separated by oceans. The success of sauropods was not caused by one single feature. Their evolution involved changes in their skeletons, feeding methods, growth patterns, and ability to live in different environments. Over millions of years, these changes produced some of the largest and most successful plant-eating dinosaurs in Earth's history. The continued development of sauropod dinosaurs during the Jurassic Period led to the appearance of many different species with different body shapes, sizes, and ways of feeding. Although all sauropods shared important features such as long necks, large bodies, and 4 strong legs, each group developed characteristics that helped it live in particular environments. One important group of Jurassic sauropods was the diplodocids, which included Diplodocus and other related dinosaurs. These dinosaurs had very long tails and necks, lightweight skulls, and bodies designed for efficient movement. Their tails contained many small bones connected together, giving them flexibility. The tail was an important part of their body because it helped maintain balance while they walked and moved their long necks. The necks of diplodocid sauropods were made of many vertebrae. These bones were connected with strong muscles and tissues that supported the weight of the neck. The structure of the neck allowed these dinosaurs to move their heads across wide areas while searching for food. Their feeding style involved collecting large amounts of plant material from different parts of the environment. Another important group was the Brachiosaurids, which included Brachiosaurus. These dinosaurs had body structures that allowed them to reach vegetation from higher areas. Their front legs were longer than their back legs, creating a raised shoulder region. Their necks extended upward from their bodies, allowing them to access leaves from tall plants and trees. The evolution of these different sauropod groups shows that these dinosaurs were able to develop different ways of using available resources. Some species focused on vegetation closer to the ground, while others reached plants higher above the surface. This allowed many different sauropod species to live in the same general regions without all depending on exactly the same food sources. The large size of sauropods required major changes in their internal body systems. Their hearts, lungs, muscles and digestive organs had to support their enormous bodies. Scientists have studied the structure of sauropod bones and found evidence that their bodies had systems that helped them survive despite their size. Sauropod lungs were likely highly developed. Their bones contained air spaces connected to the respiratory system. These air spaces reduced the weight of their skeletons and may have helped improve breathing efficiency. A large body required a reliable supply of oxygen, especially when moving across land. The breathing system of sauropods had similarities to the respiratory systems found in modern birds. Air moved through different areas of the lungs and air sacs, allowing continuous airflow. This system helped their bodies handle the demands of being extremely large animals. Their hearts also needed to circulate blood throughout their long necks and large bodies. A long neck created a challenge because blood had to travel from the heart to the brain. Scientists continue to study how sauropods managed this process, but their body structures show that they had adaptations that allowed them to live successfully. The feeding habits of giant sauropods were closely connected to the plants that existed during the Jurassic Period. The world at that time contained large forests with plants such as conifers, ferns, cycads, and other ancient vegetation. Flowering plants had not yet become common, so sauropods depended mainly on the plant groups that existed before the spread of flowering plants. Conifers were among the important plants available to Jurassic herbivores. These plants produced leaves and branches that could provide food for large dinosaurs. Ferns also covered many areas and contributed to the vegetation available in different environments. Because sauropods needed large amounts of food, they likely spent many hours each day feeding. Their bodies required constant energy, and their large digestive systems allowed them to process large quantities of plant material. They probably moved slowly across landscapes while searching for areas with enough vegetation. The teeth of sauropods were adapted to their feeding methods. Many species did not have teeth designed for grinding food. Instead, their teeth helped them remove leaves and plant material. The breakdown of food happened mainly inside their digestive systems after swallowing. Some sauropods replaced their teeth throughout their lives. Fossil evidence shows that many sauropods continuously developed new teeth because their existing teeth became worn down from regular feeding. This ability allowed them to continue eating plants throughout their long lives. The lifespan of sauropods is difficult to determine exactly, but evidence from their bones suggests that some individuals lived for many years. Their slow growth after reaching large sizes and their strong body structures may have allowed them to survive for long periods when environmental conditions remained suitable. The survival of adult sauropods depended on several factors. Their size reduced the number of predators that could attack them. Their strong legs allowed them to move across different landscapes. Their ability to eat many types of vegetation helped them survive when specific plants became less available. However, young sauropods experienced much greater danger. Small individuals could be attacked by large meat-eating dinosaurs. Fossil evidence suggests that many young sauropods died before reaching adulthood. Those that survived their early years could grow into very large animals. The relationship between predators and sauropods influenced the development of both groups. Large meat-eating dinosaurs evolved stronger bodies, sharper teeth, and better hunting abilities. Sauropods developed size, strength, and group behaviors that helped reduce the risk of attacks. During the Jurassic period, some of the largest predators lived alongside giant sauropods. In North America, dinosaurs such as Allosaurus shared environments with sauropods like Diplodocus and other large plant-eating dinosaurs. Allosaurus had strong jaws and sharp teeth, allowing it to hunt smaller animals and possibly attack young or weakened sauropods. Adult giant sauropods were difficult targets because of their enormous size and powerful bodies. Predators likely focused more on young individuals, injured animals, or members that were separated from groups. The presence of predators influenced the behavior and movement patterns of sauropods. Fossil trackways provide evidence about how sauropods moved through their environments. Some trackways show multiple individuals traveling in the same direction. These discoveries suggest that certain sauropod species may have moved together across landscapes. Traveling in groups may have helped protect younger animals and allowed individuals to find food and water more effectively. Larger groups could also leave behind more evidence in the fossil record because multiple footprints were preserved in the same area. The growth of sauropods also affected the environments where they lived. Large numbers of giant herbivores consumed huge amounts of vegetation and influenced plant communities. Their movement through forests and open areas affected the distribution of plants and changed parts of the landscape. Sauropods also played a role in spreading plant material. As they moved and fed, they could carry seeds and plant remains across different areas. Their waste returned nutrients to the environment and contributed to natural cycles in ancient ecosystems. The evolution of sauropods continued beyond the Jurassic period. After the Jurassic ended, new sauropod groups appeared during the Cretaceous period. These later sauropods included some of the largest known dinosaurs, showing that the basic body plan developed during earlier periods continued to be successful. The Jurassic period was an important time in the history of sauropods because many major groups developed during this era. The combination of suitable environments, available vegetation, and evolutionary changes allowed these dinosaurs to become widespread across the ancient world. The discovery of sauropod fossils has helped scientists understand how these animals lived. Fossils of bones, footprints, teeth, and preserved trackways provide information about their movement, feeding habits, growth, and relationships with other animals. The study of sauropods continues today as new discoveries provide additional information. Scientists use modern techniques to examine fossil bones, including detailed scanning and computer analysis. These methods help reveal information about their muscles, movement, body structure, and daily activities. The giant sauropods of the Jurassic period represent a major stage in dinosaur evolution. Their development involved millions of years of physical changes that affected their skeletons, feeding systems, and ways of surviving in different environments. Theropods were dinosaurs that walked mainly on two legs and had strong bodies designed for movement and hunting. Their name comes from words meaning beast feet, referring to their powerful feet with sharp claws. Early theropods appeared before the Jurassic period during the late Triassic period, but they continued to develop and spread widely throughout the Jurassic world. Over millions of years, they became successful predators in many different habitats, including forests, open plains, and areas near rivers and lakes. The Jurassic environment provided many opportunities for large, meat-eating dinosaurs. After the extinction event at the end of the Triassic period, Many older animal groups disappeared and ecosystems changed. Dinosaurs became more widespread and different dinosaur groups occupied new roles in nature. Large plant-eating dinosaurs became common, creating a steady source of food for large predators. Theropods that could move efficiently, hunt effectively, and adapt to changing conditions became important hunters in these ecosystems. Large Jurassic theropods developed strong muscles, sharp teeth, flexible bodies, and powerful senses. Their bodies were built for catching and killing other animals. They had long tails that helped them maintain balance while running and turning. Their legs were strong and positioned beneath their bodies, allowing them to move with greater control. Their arms were usually shorter than their legs, but many species had strong hands with claws that could help them hold prey. One of the most famous Jurassic predators was Allosaurus. It lived during the late Jurassic Period, around 155 million to 150 million years ago. Fossils of Allosaurus have been found mainly in areas that are now part of North America, especially in the western regions of the continent. Some remains have also been discovered in other parts of the world, showing that related animals lived across different regions. Allosaurus was a large theropod dinosaur with a strong body, a long tail, a large head, and sharp teeth. Many adult individuals reached lengths of about 8 to 9 meters. Although some may have been larger, its skull was large and light compared with its overall body size because it contained spaces inside the bones that reduced weight. This allowed the dinosaur to carry a large head without making movement difficult. The jaws of Allosaurus contained many sharp, curved teeth. These teeth were shaped for cutting flesh rather than crushing hard materials. When it attacked prey, it could use its jaws to remove pieces of flesh. The teeth were replaced throughout its life, which helped the animal continue hunting even when older teeth became damaged or were lost. The skull of Allosaurus had special features that affected how it fed. Its lower jaw could move slightly, allowing the mouth to open widely. The muscles connected to the skull and jaw helped create strong movements during attacks. Scientists believe Allosaurus may have used powerful bites and repeated strikes to injure prey before feeding. The body structure of Allosaurus shows many adaptations for an active hunting lifestyle. Its hind legs were strong and supported its weight while moving across the landscape. The bones of the legs were built to handle stress from walking, running, and attacking. Its feet had sharp claws that could provide grip and help during close contact with prey. The arms of Allosaurus were relatively short but still useful. Each hand had 3 fingers with large claws. These claws could help hold struggling animals. The arms were connected to strong shoulder muscles, giving them enough strength for grabbing movements. The tail of Allosaurus played an important role in movement. It was long and muscular, extending behind the body and helping the dinosaur keep balance. When the animal turned quickly while chasing prey, the tail helped control its direction. This was important because hunting required fast changes in movement. The eyes of Allosaurus faced forward, giving it some ability to judge distances. This helped when approaching moving prey. Its sense of smell was also likely well developed, allowing it to detect nearby animals or locate food sources. A combination of vision, smell, hearing, and physical strength helped it survive as a predator. During the Jurassic Period, Allosaurus lived alongside many large plant-eating dinosaurs. These included long-necked sauropods and heavily built armored dinosaurs. Some of these animals were much larger than Allosaurus, creating challenges for predators. Hunting such animals required careful behavior, physical ability, and knowledge of the environment. Scientists study fossil evidence to understand how Jurassic predators hunted. footprints, injuries found on dinosaur bones, tooth marks, and the locations of fossils provide information about predator behavior. These clues show that theropods interacted with other dinosaurs in many ways, including hunting, scavenging, and competing for food. The hunting methods of Jurassic theropods were not all the same. Different species had different body sizes, strengths, and abilities. Some smaller theropods may have relied on speed and quick attacks. Larger theropods, such as Allosaurus, may have used strength, powerful jaws, and repeated attacks to bring down prey. The idea that large theropods always hunted in groups remains uncertain. Some fossil discoveries have suggested that multiple individuals of certain theropod species lived or died near each other. However, this does not always prove organized group hunting. Animals can gather around the same food source or environmental area without working together as a hunting group. Allosaurus fossils have been found with remains of large plant-eating dinosaurs, and some bones show injuries that may have resulted from predator attacks. These discoveries provide evidence that Allosaurus interacted with large prey animals. However, the exact details of each hunt cannot be fully known, because behavior does not fossilize directly. A large predator needed more than strength to survive. It needed energy, suitable habitats, and access to prey. Jurassic landscapes contained many different environments where predators could search for food. Forests provided places to hide and approach prey. River areas attracted many animals because water sources supported plant growth and animal populations. The growth of large theropods took many years. Young individuals were usually smaller and had different body proportions compared with adults. As they grew, their legs, skulls, teeth, and muscles developed. Juvenile theropods may have hunted smaller animals because their bodies were not yet strong enough to attack large prey. Growth studies based on fossil bones show that many large theropods experienced rapid growth during certain stages of life. Bone layers preserve information about growth patterns, similar to the way tree rings preserve information about age. Scientists examine these patterns to estimate how quickly dinosaurs matured and how long they may have lived. The evolution of theropod dinosaurs during the Jurassic Period was shaped by many factors. Changes in climate, geography, available prey, and competition influenced their development. As continents slowly moved apart and environments changed, dinosaur populations became separated, leading to the development of different species with unique features. Plant-eating dinosaurs of the Jurassic Period belong to several groups, each with unique features that helped them survive. Some had long necks that allowed them to reach plants high above the ground, while others had strong bodies designed for eating low-growing plants. Some developed body structures that helped them protect themselves from predators, including sharp spikes, hard plates, powerful tails, and group behaviors. The variety of these dinosaurs showed how life responded to changes in the environment and the availability of different types of plants. During the early Jurassic Period, the world was recovering from the End-Triassic extinction event, which occurred around 201 million years ago. Many groups of animals disappeared during this event, creating new opportunities for dinosaurs that survived. Plant-eating dinosaurs expanded into different environments as forests changed and new plant communities developed. The increase in plant resources supported the growth of many large herbivorous dinosaurs. The plants available during the Jurassic Period were different from those found in modern environments. Flowering plants had not yet become common, and many of the plants that dominated the landscape belonged to groups such as conifers, cycads, ferns, horsetails, and other ancient plant families. These plants provided food for many dinosaur species, different dinosaurs developed different feeding methods, because the available vegetation varied from place to place. Some herbivorous dinosaurs had teeth that were suitable for cutting and chewing tough plant material. Others had simpler teeth and swallowed plant pieces that were later processed inside their digestive systems. The size of a dinosaur, the shape of its mouth, the arrangement of its teeth, and the structure of its digestive system all affected the types of plants it could eat. One of the most recognizable groups of Jurassic herbivorous dinosaurs was the stegosaurs. Stegosaurs were known for their unusual body structures, including rows of large plates along their backs and spikes at the ends of their tails. These features appeared in species such as Stegosaurus, which lived during the late Jurassic period. Stegosaurs had relatively small heads compared with their large bodies. Their teeth were small and designed for processing certain types of vegetation. They mainly fed on low-growing plants, including ferns and other ground-level vegetation. Their necks were flexible, allowing them to move their heads while searching for food close to the ground. The plates along the backs of stegosaurs have been studied by scientists for many years. These structures contained blood vessels, and researchers have suggested that they may have helped regulate body temperature. They may also have played a role in communication between individuals of the same species. The plates could have helped stegosaurs identify members of their own group and display their condition to others. The tail spikes of stegosaurs provided protection against predators. Large meat-eating dinosaurs that lived during the Jurassic period hunted many herbivorous species, creating strong pressure for plant-eating dinosaurs to develop defensive features. A stegosaur could swing its tail with force, using the spikes to strike animals that came too close. Stegosaurs were not the only important plant-eating dinosaurs during the Jurassic period. Ornithopods were another major group of herbivorous dinosaurs. These dinosaurs were usually smaller and more lightly built than many large sauropods, but they were highly successful because they could move efficiently and feed on a wide range of plants. Early ornithopods appeared during the late Triassic period and continued to develop throughout the Jurassic period. They included many different species with different body sizes and feeding abilities. Some were small animals that moved quickly, while others became larger and developed stronger jaws for processing plant material. Ornithopods had teeth that allowed them to break down vegetation more effectively than many earlier plant-eating dinosaurs. Their jaws could move in ways that helped them grind plant material. This ability allowed them to consume tougher plants and survive in environments where food sources changed throughout the year. One example of a Jurassic ornithopod was Dryosaurus. Dryosaurus was a small, fast-moving herbivore that lived in areas with forests and plant growth. It had a lightweight body, strong legs, and a long tail that helped maintain balance while running. Its speed helped it avoid predators. Dryosaurus likely lived in groups, which may have provided protection from hunting dinosaurs. When several individuals lived together, more animals could watch for danger, and younger members of the group could receive protection from adults. Fossil evidence from different dinosaur groups suggests that many herbivorous dinosaurs gathered together, especially in areas where food was abundant. Another important group of Jurassic plant-eating dinosaurs was the sauropods. Sauropods included some of the largest land animals that have ever existed. They had long necks, long tails, large bodies, and relatively small heads. Famous Jurassic sauropods included Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus. Sauropods developed body structures that allowed them to consume large amounts of plant material. Their long necks helped them reach vegetation in different parts of the forest. Some could feed from tall trees, while others focused on plants closer to the ground. Their size allowed them to travel long distances in search of food and water. Sauropods did not chew their food in the same way many other herbivorous dinosaurs did. Instead, they swallowed plant material, and their large digestive systems helped break down the food through fermentation. This allowed them to process large quantities of vegetation. The growth of sauropods was influenced by the availability of food and the environment around them. Young sauropods likely grew quickly because reaching a large size provided protection from many predators. Adult sauropods had bodies that were difficult for many Jurassic predators to attack successfully. Different Jurassic herbivorous dinosaurs occupied different feeding areas. Some ate plants near the ground, some reached higher vegetation, and others consumed different types of leaves and plant material. This separation reduced competition between species living in the same environment. Many different herbivorous dinosaurs could exist together because they used available resources in different ways. The forests of the Jurassic period contained many types of plants that supported these dinosaur communities. Conifer forests covered large areas, while ferns grew in open spaces and near rivers. Cycads and other plants provided additional sources of food. Seasonal changes affected plant growth, and dinosaurs had to adjust their movements and feeding habits based on the conditions around them. The relationship between herbivorous dinosaurs and plants shaped the ecosystems of the Jurassic period. As dinosaurs moved through landscapes and consumed vegetation, they affected plant distribution and nutrient movement. Their activity influenced the environments where other animals lived. At the beginning of the Jurassic period, Earth was still experiencing major changes after the extinction event that happened at the end of the Triassic period. Many groups of animals had disappeared, and new groups began to increase in number. The oceans recovered and developed into rich environments where marine animals could grow and spread. The movement of continents changed the shape of coastlines and created new seas and marine areas. These changes helped create different habitats where many species could survive. During the Jurassic period, the large landmass called Pangaea continued to break apart. As the continents slowly moved away from each other, new ocean spaces formed between land areas. These new seas provided places where marine animals could live and find food. Some regions had warm, shallow waters filled with plants and small animals, while other areas had deeper waters where large predators could swim and hunt. The Jurassic oceans contained many different environments. Coastal regions had areas where sunlight reached the ocean floor, allowing marine plants and tiny organisms to grow. These small organisms became an important food source for many animals. Other parts of the ocean were deeper and supported larger hunters that moved through open waters. The variety of environments allowed many types of marine reptiles to develop different body forms and ways of living. One of the most important groups of marine reptiles during the Jurassic period was the ichthyosaurs. Ichthyosaurs were reptiles that became highly adapted to life in the ocean. Their name means fish lizards, and they had body shapes that allowed them to move efficiently through water. Although they were reptiles, they were not like land reptiles that simply entered the ocean. Over many generations, their bodies changed to suit a fully marine lifestyle. Ichthyosaurs had long bodies, strong tails, and fins that helped them control their movement in water. Their eyes were often very large, especially in some species that lived in deeper waters. These large eyes helped them see in places where light was limited. Some ichthyosaurs had some of the largest eyes known among vertebrates, allowing them to search for prey in dark ocean environments. These marine reptiles breathed air because they were reptiles, which meant they needed to come to the surface regularly. They gave birth to live young instead of laying eggs on land. This ability allowed them to spend their entire lives in the ocean without needing to return to beaches or shorelines to reproduce. Their reproduction method helped them spread across many marine environments. Ichthyosaurs appeared before the Jurassic period, but they became especially successful during this time. Many different species developed, ranging from smaller forms to large predators. Some species were several meters long and hunted a variety of prey. They ate animals such as fish, squid-like creatures, and other marine animals. Their powerful tails helped them swim quickly when chasing prey. Fossils show that ichthyosaurs had strong muscles and bodies designed for active swimming. Their teeth were useful for catching slippery prey, especially animals that moved quickly through the water. Some species had many small teeth, while others had larger teeth suited for catching bigger animals. Ichthyosaurs played an important role in Jurassic ocean ecosystems because they occupied the position of major predators. They controlled populations of smaller animals and influenced how marine communities developed. Their hunting activities affected the number and distribution of many prey species. Another major group of Jurassic marine reptiles was the plesiosaurs. Plesiosaurs had very different body structures from ichthyosaurs. They had broad bodies, 4 strong flippers, and long or short necks, depending on the species. They were among the most recognized marine reptiles of the Jurassic period because of their unusual body forms and wide variety. Some plesiosaurs had extremely long necks with small heads. These animals likely used their necks to reach and capture prey while moving through shallow waters. Their small heads contained teeth that helped them catch fish and other small marine animals. Their long necks allowed them to search large areas for food. Other plesiosaurs had shorter necks and larger heads. These species were powerful hunters that could attack larger prey. Their strong jaws and teeth allowed them to capture fish, marine reptiles, and other animals living in Jurassic seas. Their bodies were built for swimming using their 4 flippers, which moved in a coordinated way to push them through the water. Plesiosaurs were not fish and did not swim in the same way as many modern ocean animals. They moved their flippers to create movement through the water. Their swimming style allowed them to travel through different marine environments. Some lived near coastlines, while others moved through open oceans. The diversity of plesiosaurs increased during the Jurassic period. Different species developed different feeding habits and body structures. Some focused on small prey, while others became large hunters. Their presence added another important group of predators to Jurassic marine ecosystems. Large marine reptiles were not the only important animals in Jurassic oceans. Many other creatures lived alongside them and formed complex food networks. Fish were extremely common and provided food for many predators. Ammonites, which were shelled relatives of modern squid and octopuses, were also widespread. They lived in large numbers and became an important food source for many marine animals. Ammonites had spiral shells and moved through the water using a special body structure. They were not plants or simple organisms. They were active animals that could swim and respond to changes in their environment. Their fossils are among the most common remains found in Jurassic marine rocks. Other ocean animals included marine crocodile relatives, sea turtles, sharks, and many types of smaller reptiles. Some crocodile-like reptiles adapted to life in the sea and developed long bodies and powerful tails. These animals hunted fish and other marine creatures. Some were active predators that shared the same waters with ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs. The Jurassic oceans also contained many types of invertebrates. These animals did not have backbones but played major roles in marine ecosystems. Sea animals such as shellfish, sea urchins and other small creatures provided food for larger animals. Tiny organisms floating in the water supported many parts of the food system. Marine plants and microscopic organisms were also important because they produced energy that supported ocean life. Small organisms called plankton floated through the water and were eaten by many animals. These tiny living things supported larger animals by providing the first level of food in the marine environment. The relationship between different animals in Jurassic oceans created complex food chains. Small organisms were eaten by small animals, which were then eaten by larger predators. Marine reptiles depended on these connections because they needed enough prey to survive. Changes in one group of animals could affect many others. Ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and other marine predators occupied important positions in these food chains. They helped control the populations of fish, ammonites, and other marine animals. Their hunting behavior influenced where prey animals lived and how they developed over time. The size of some Jurassic marine reptiles allowed them to hunt a wide range of prey. Large predators needed large amounts of food to maintain their bodies. They moved through oceans searching for areas where prey was available. Their ability to travel across wide areas helped them survive in changing marine environments. The presence of many different predators meant that Jurassic oceans were active ecosystems. Animals competed for food and space, but they also depended on each other through feeding relationships. Every species had a role in maintaining the structure of marine life during this period. The study of Jurassic marine reptiles comes mainly from fossils discovered in rocks that were once covered by ancient seas. Fossil remains include bones, teeth, shells, and impressions of animals. These discoveries allow scientists to understand the types of creatures that lived in Jurassic oceans and how they interacted with their environments. The Jurassic oceans continued to develop throughout the period, and marine reptiles became more specialized as they adapted to different conditions in the seas. The changing positions of continents affected ocean currents, water temperatures, and the availability of food. These environmental changes created new opportunities for some animals, while making survival more difficult for others. Marine reptiles that could adapt to different habitats were able to spread across large areas of the ancient oceans. The distribution of marine reptiles was not the same in every region. Fossils show that different species lived in different parts of the world depending on the conditions of the local environment. Some areas had warm, shallow seas with many small animals, while other areas had deeper waters where large predators hunted. The variety of marine habitats supported a wide range of species. Ichthyosaurs continued to be important ocean hunters during much of the Jurassic period. Their success was connected to their ability to move quickly and locate prey. Their streamlined bodies reduced resistance as they moved through water, allowing them to chase fast-moving animals. Many ichthyosaurs had sharp senses that helped them detect prey from a distance. The feeding habits of ichthyosaurs changed among different species. Some focused mainly on small fish and soft-bodied animals such as squid relatives. Others were large hunters capable of attacking bigger prey. Fossil evidence from stomach contents has provided information about what some ichthyosaurs ate. Remains of fish, squid-like animals, and other marine creatures have been discovered inside fossilized bodies. The eyes of some ichthyosaurs were especially important for hunting. Large eyes allowed them to see in areas where sunlight was weak. This ability may have helped species that hunted deeper in the ocean. Deep water environments contained different types of prey, and animals that could search these areas had access to additional food sources. Ichthyosaurs also faced threats from other predators. The Jurassic seas contained several large hunters, and competition for food was common. young ichthyosaurs could have been vulnerable to attacks from larger marine reptiles. Survival depended on finding enough food, avoiding danger, and successfully producing offspring. Plesiosaurs developed many forms during the Jurassic period. Their different body structures allowed them to occupy various roles in marine ecosystems. Long-necked species likely searched for smaller prey in areas where their body shape gave them an advantage. Short-necked species with large heads were better suited for capturing larger animals. The necks of long-necked plesiosaurs have attracted much scientific study. Their necks contained many small bones that gave them flexibility. Scientists continue to examine how these animals used their necks while hunting. They may have moved slowly through the water and used their necks to approach prey without disturbing it. Some plesiosaurs lived in coastal environments where food was abundant. Shallow waters provided areas where fish and other animals gathered. These regions were important feeding areas for many marine reptiles. Coastal ecosystems also contained many hiding places and breeding areas for smaller animals. Other plesiosaurs moved through open seas. These animals needed to travel longer distances to find food. Their large flippers helped them maintain movement over wide areas. Their ability to swim efficiently allowed them to survive in different marine regions. Another group of important Jurassic Ocean predators was the marine crocodile relatives known as Thalattosuchians. These reptiles were descendants of land-based crocodile ancestors but became adapted to marine life. They developed long bodies, strong tails, and specialized limbs for swimming. Some species hunted fish, while others attacked larger marine animals. Thalattosuchians included different types with different lifestyles. Some were more similar to modern crocodiles and lived near coastlines. Others became fully adapted to ocean life and spent most of their time in marine environments. Their presence added another group of powerful hunters to Jurassic seas. Marine turtles also appeared during this period and became part of ocean ecosystems. Early marine turtles had features that helped them survive in water. They fed on various types of food, including plants and small marine animals. Although they were not the dominant predators of the oceans, they contributed to the variety of marine life. Sharks and other fish were common in Jurassic oceans. Many fish species provided the main food source for larger predators. Sharks had already existed for hundreds of millions of years and continued to evolve during the Jurassic period. Their strong bodies and feeding abilities allowed them to survive alongside marine reptiles. The presence of many different predators created a complex balance in Jurassic marine environments. Large predators did not simply hunt everything they encountered. Each species had preferred prey and specific areas where it searched for food. This separation helped different predators exist in the same oceans. Food chains in Jurassic seas began with tiny organisms that produced energy through sunlight or consumed organic material. Small animals fed on these organisms, and larger animals fed on smaller animals. Marine reptiles depended on this entire system because their survival relied on the availability of prey. The position of marine reptiles within these food chains was significant. Large predators influenced the numbers of other animals by hunting them. When predator populations changed, the populations of prey animals could also change. This created movement and adjustment within marine communities over long periods. Marine reptiles also influenced the movement patterns of other animals. Fish and smaller creatures avoided areas where large predators were common. Some prey animals developed behaviors that helped them escape attacks. These relationships shaped the lives of many Jurassic sea creatures. The oceans were not empty spaces where only large reptiles lived. They contained thousands of species that interacted every day. Small animals, plants, microorganisms, and large predators all formed connected communities. The survival of each group depended on the conditions of the marine environment. The reproduction of marine reptiles was another important part of their survival. Since many marine reptiles gave birth to live young, they did not need to leave the ocean to lay eggs. This allowed them to remain in marine habitats throughout their lives. Young reptiles still faced many dangers after birth because they could be hunted by larger animals. Fossil discoveries have shown that some marine reptiles gave birth to multiple young. The number of offspring and the care given to young animals varied among species. Young marine reptiles had to grow quickly and develop the abilities needed to survive in dangerous ocean environments. The growth of marine reptiles was influenced by available food and environmental conditions. Large species required significant amounts of energy to develop their bodies. Areas with rich food supplies could support larger populations of predators. Regions with fewer resources supported smaller or less demanding species. Jurassic marine ecosystems also experienced changes caused by sea level changes. At different times, oceans expanded over land areas and later retreated. These changes altered coastlines and created new habitats. Animals that lived in shallow seas had to adjust when their environments changed. Volcanic activity and changes in climate also affected marine environments. These events could change ocean chemistry and influence the availability of food. Marine reptiles that depended on specific conditions could be affected by these changes. Over millions of years, some groups declined while others became more common. The fossils of Jurassic marine reptiles are found in many parts of the world. Regions that are now dry land once contained ancient seas. Fossil remains from Europe, North America, Asia, and other locations have provided information about these animals. Scientists study these remains to understand their anatomy, behavior, and relationships. The discovery of ichthyosaur and plesiosaur fossils has helped reveal the variety of life that existed in Jurassic oceans. Some fossils preserve complete skeletons while others preserve only parts of animals. Teeth, bones, and other remains provide information about feeding habits and movement. Scientists also study the rocks surrounding fossils to understand the environments where these animals lived. The type of rock can reveal whether an area was a deep ocean, shallow sea, or coastal region. This information helps explain how marine reptiles adapted to different places. The Jurassic Ocean supported some of the most successful marine reptiles in Earth's history. Ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and other predators occupied important positions within these environments. Their bodies, behaviors, and feeding methods were shaped by millions of years of adaptation to life in the sea. The presence of these marine reptiles shows that the Jurassic Period was a time of major development in ocean ecosystems. The seas contained many different animals living together, from tiny organisms to large predators. The interactions between these creatures created complex marine communities that continued to change throughout the Jurassic Period. Reptiles had already existed for millions of years before the Jurassic Period began. During the earlier Triassic period, many reptile groups appeared and developed new forms after the largest extinction event in Earth's history at the end of the Permian period. As environments changed, reptiles adapted to different habitats. Some became powerful predators, some became plant eaters, and others developed bodies suited for swimming or moving through different types of landscapes. By the Jurassic period, reptiles had become highly diverse, with many groups having specialized features that allowed them to survive in different regions. The breakup of large land areas during the Jurassic period created new environments where reptiles could develop in different ways. continents slowly moved apart, creating new coastlines, inland seas, rivers, forests, and open areas. These changing landscapes provided many opportunities for reptiles to occupy new habitats. Some reptile groups remained on land, while others entered water environments where they developed new methods of movement and hunting. Among the important reptile groups of the Jurassic were the relatives of modern crocodiles. These animals belonged to a larger group called crocodilomorphs, which included the ancestors of today's crocodiles, alligators, and related species. The Jurassic period was an important time in the development of these animals because many different forms appeared, ranging from small land animals to large water predators. The earliest crocodile relatives appeared during the late Triassic period, before the Jurassic began. Early forms were often lightly built animals with long legs that allowed them to move quickly on land. They were different from modern crocodiles, which usually have broad bodies, short legs, and lifestyles closely connected to water. During the Jurassic period, crocodile relatives developed into many different types, with different body shapes and behaviors. Some Jurassic crocodilomorphs were active land hunters. These animals had long legs positioned more directly under their bodies, allowing them to walk and run more effectively than modern crocodiles. Their bodies were often narrow and their tails were long. They hunted small animals, insects, and other available prey. Fossils show that some early crocodile relatives had sharp teeth designed for catching and cutting food. One important group of Jurassic crocodile relatives was the Sphenoseuchians. These were among the earliest members of the crocodilomorph group. They were usually small animals with long legs and flexible bodies. They likely moved quickly across land and hunted smaller creatures. Their fossils provide information about the early stages of crocodile evolution and show that the ancestors of crocodiles were not always slow-moving water animals. As the Jurassic period continued, other crocodile relatives developed bodies better suited for life near water. These animals began spending more time around rivers, lakes, and coastal areas. Their bodies became stronger, their tails became more useful for swimming, and their skulls became larger and more powerful. Some developed features that helped them capture fish and other aquatic animals. A major group of Jurassic crocodile relatives was the teleosaurids. These animals were long-bodied reptiles that lived mostly in marine and coastal environments. They had long, narrow snouts filled with many sharp teeth. Their jaws were suitable for catching fish and other small marine animals. Fossils of teleosaurids have been found in areas that were once covered by shallow seas during the Jurassic period. Teleosaurids were well adapted to life in water, but they still needed to come onto land for certain activities. Their bodies show a mixture of features related to both land and aquatic movement. Their strong tails helped them swim, while their limbs allowed them to move along shorelines. Another important group was the metriorhynchids. These crocodile relatives became highly specialized for marine life. Unlike modern crocodiles, which spend much of their time in freshwater environments, metriorhynchids lived in the open ocean. They developed streamlined bodies, powerful tails, and limbs changed into paddle-like structures for swimming. Metriorhynchids were among the most successful marine crocodile relatives of the Jurassic period. They hunted fish, squid-like animals, and other marine creatures. Their long jaws contained sharp teeth that helped them catch fast-moving prey. Some species grew several meters long and were active predators in Jurassic seas. The development of these marine crocodile relatives shows how reptiles adapted to different environments. The same general group of animals produced species that lived on land, in rivers, and in the oceans. Their fossils reveal that reptile evolution during the Jurassic period involved many different body designs and lifestyles. Crocodile relatives were also important parts of food chains during the Jurassic period. Smaller species hunted insects, small reptiles, and small animals living near forests and rivers. Larger species hunted fish and other aquatic animals. Some may also have eaten dead animals when opportunities appeared. Their presence influenced the balance of ecosystems by controlling populations of other creatures. Many Jurassic crocodile relatives had protective body coverings made of bony plates called osteoderms. These structures formed within the skin and provided protection. The size and arrangement of these plates differed between species. Some land-based forms had stronger body protection, while marine forms often had lighter coverings that helped with swimming. The reproduction and growth of Jurassic crocodile relatives were also important parts of their lives. Like modern reptiles, they produced eggs. Fossil evidence suggests that many crocodilomorphs built nests and protected their eggs. Their young likely faced many dangers from predators, including larger reptiles and dinosaurs. Alongside crocodile relatives, turtles were another important reptile group that developed during the Jurassic period. Turtles have a very ancient history, with their ancestors appearing before the Jurassic. However, the Jurassic period was a major stage in the development of turtle features that later became common among modern turtles. The earliest turtle relatives appeared during the late Triassic period. These early forms did not have the complete shell structure seen in modern turtles. Their bodies show gradual changes toward the development of a protective shell. Fossils from the Triassic and Jurassic periods help scientists understand how turtles developed their unique body design. One of the earliest known turtle relatives was Proganochelys, which lived near the beginning of the late Triassic period, close to the transition into the Jurassic. It had a fully developed shell, but it still had features that modern turtles do not have. It had small protective structures on its neck and tail, and it could not pull its head completely into its shell. During the Jurassic period, different turtle forms appeared in both land and water environments. Some turtles lived in freshwater habitats, such as rivers and lakes, while others lived in coastal areas. Their shells provided protection from predators, and their strong jaws allowed them to feed on plants, small animals, and other available food sources. Early Jurassic turtles were important because they show how the turtle body continued to change over time. The shell was made of two main parts: the upper section, called the carapace, and the lower section, called the plastron. These structures developed from changes in ribs, bones, and body tissues. The shell became a major feature that separated turtles from other reptiles. Some Jurassic turtles had bodies adapted for swimming. Their limbs became broader and more useful for moving through water. These turtles likely searched for food in rivers, lakes, and coastal environments. Others remained closer to land and used strong limbs for walking across forest floors and dry areas. The fossil record from the Jurassic period shows that turtles were already spreading into different habitats. Their ability to live in many environments helped them survive changes that affected other animal groups. They continued developing after the Jurassic and became one of the long-lasting reptile groups on Earth. Turtles were not the only reptiles living outside the dinosaur groups during the Jurassic period. Many other reptile groups existed, each with different features and lifestyles. These included flying reptiles called pterosaurs, marine reptiles such as ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, and smaller reptile groups that lived among plants and rocks. Pterosaurs were flying reptiles that appeared before the Jurassic period and continued to develop throughout it. Although they lived alongside dinosaurs, they were not dinosaurs. They had wings made from skin supported by a long finger. Many Jurassic pterosaurs hunted insects, fish, and small animals. They lived near coastlines, forests, and open areas where they could search for food. Marine reptiles were also a major part of Jurassic ecosystems. Ichthyosaurs had bodies shaped for swimming and were among the fastest marine reptiles of the period. They had large eyes, powerful tails, and long bodies. They hunted fish and other sea animals. Plesiosaurs had different body shapes, with wide bodies, long necks, and paddle-like limbs. They moved through ancient oceans and hunted various marine creatures. These marine reptiles were not related closely to crocodiles or turtles, but they were part of the wider reptile diversity of the Jurassic world. Their existence shows that reptiles adapted to almost every major environment available during this period. The Jurassic period contained a wide range of reptile life forms. Some reptiles walked through forests, some lived in rivers, some controlled coastal waters, and some moved through the skies. Their different adaptations allowed them to survive in environments that changed over millions of years. The Jurassic period ended after a long period of major changes that affected the land, oceans, climate, and living organisms of Earth. The Jurassic period lasted from about 201 million years ago to about 145 million years ago. During this time, dinosaurs became widespread across many parts of the planet. Large marine reptiles lived in the oceans, flying reptiles moved through the skies, and many groups of plants and animals continued to develop. The end of this period was not marked by one sudden event that removed all life. Instead, it involved a series of environmental changes that slowly shaped the world and prepared the way for the Cretaceous period. The transition from the Jurassic period into the Cretaceous period happened around 145 million years ago. This change occurred during a time when Earth's continents were still moving, oceans were changing, and ecosystems were being reorganized. The movement of continents affected the climate and created new environments where different species could survive. Many animals that lived during the Jurassic continued into the early Cretaceous, while other groups became less common or disappeared. During the late Jurassic period, Earth had a very different arrangement of continents from today. The supercontinent, known as Pangaea, had already begun breaking apart. Large land areas were separating into northern and southern regions. The northern part became known as Laurasia, which included land that would later form parts of North America, Europe, and Asia. The southern part became known as Gondwana, which included land that would later form South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, and India. The separation of these land areas continued near the end of the Jurassic period. As continents moved apart, new seas formed between them. These changes affected rainfall patterns, temperatures, and the availability of habitats. Some areas became wetter while others became drier. Plants and animals that depended on certain environments had to adapt to these changes. The climate during the late Jurassic was generally warm, but there were regional differences. There were no large permanent ice sheets at the poles because global temperatures were higher than today. Many areas had forests, wetlands, open plains, and coastal regions that supported large numbers of animals. However, climate conditions were not always stable. Changes in sea levels and volcanic activity influenced local environments. Volcanic activity was an important factor during the transition period. As continents separated, cracks formed in Earth's crust. These cracks allowed molten rock from inside Earth to reach the surface. Volcanic eruptions released gases and materials into the atmosphere. These releases could affect temperatures and the chemistry of the oceans. Volcanic activity occurred in different regions during this time and contributed to environmental changes. The oceans of the late Jurassic were filled with many types of marine life. Large marine reptiles such as ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs were common. These animals occupied different parts of marine ecosystems. Ichthyosaurs had streamlined bodies and were adapted for fast swimming. Plesiosaurs had different body shapes, with some having long necks and others having larger heads and powerful bodies. They hunted fish and other marine animals. Other ocean animals also lived during this period. Ammonites, which were relatives of modern squids and octopuses, were abundant. They had spiral shells and were found in many marine environments. Their fossils became important evidence for scientists studying changes in ancient oceans. Many types of fish, sharks, and smaller marine creatures also lived in Jurassic seas. As the Jurassic period approached its end, marine environments experienced changes. Some groups of marine reptiles declined, while others continued into the Cretaceous period. Changes in ocean conditions, food availability, and competition between species influenced these populations. The oceans did not remain unchanged, and new groups of animals began to appear. On land, dinosaurs remained among the most successful animals. Large sauropods continued to live in many regions. These long-necked plant-eating dinosaurs reached enormous sizes and depended on large amounts of vegetation for food. They lived in areas where forests and plant communities could support their needs. Theropod dinosaurs also remained important predators during the late Jurassic. Animals such as Allosaurus lived during this time and hunted other animals. Theropods had strong jaws, sharp teeth, and bodies adapted for active movement. Some smaller theropods developed features that later became important in the evolution of birds. Plant life was also changing near the end of the Jurassic period. Ferns, cycads, conifers, and other plants were common. Forests provided food and shelter for many animals. Flowering plants had not yet become widespread, and they would only become a major part of ecosystems later during the Cretaceous period. The end of the Jurassic period saw changes among several dinosaur groups. Some species disappeared, while others continued and later developed into new forms. Dinosaur evolution did not stop at the boundary between the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. Instead, new groups appeared as environments changed. One important change was the development of new dinosaur groups during the early Cretaceous period. Some dinosaurs that became common in the Cretaceous had ancestors that lived during the Jurassic. Their bodies changed over many generations as they adapted to new conditions. The transition period was also important for the development of early birds. During the Jurassic period, some small theropod dinosaurs developed feathers. These feathers were first useful for insulation and display before being connected with flight. The famous early bird-like dinosaur Archaeopteryx lived around 150 million years ago, near the later part of the Jurassic period. It had features of both dinosaurs and birds. Early bird evolution continued after the Jurassic ended, leading to more advanced flying animals during the Cretaceous period. The end of the Jurassic also affected crocodile relatives. Ancient crocodile-like reptiles were diverse during this time. Some lived on land while others lived in freshwater environments or coastal areas. They had different body shapes and lifestyles. Some were active hunters, while others had diets that included smaller animals and aquatic organisms. Many crocodile relatives survived into the Cretaceous, although their diversity changed over time. Turtles were also present during the Jurassic period. Early turtles had body features that were different from modern turtles, but they already showed the development of protective shells. Their evolution continued through the transition into the Cretaceous period. Changes in freshwater habitats and coastal environments influenced turtle populations. Flying reptiles known as pterosaurs were widespread during the late Jurassic. They were not dinosaurs, but they lived alongside them. different species occupied different environments and had various feeding habits. Some hunted fish near coastlines, while others searched for small animals on land. Pterosaurs continued into the Cretaceous period, where many new forms developed. The end of the Jurassic period was also connected to changes in sea levels. The amount of water covering continental areas changed over time because of movements in Earth's crust and changes in ocean systems. When shallow seas expanded, they created new marine habitats. When they disappeared, many coastal ecosystems changed. These environmental changes affected how species were distributed around the world. Some animals became isolated as continents separated. Isolation allowed populations to develop different features over many generations. This process contributed to the development of new species during the Cretaceous period. The transition into the Cretaceous period was therefore a time of continued evolution and environmental change. Life on Earth was not replaced completely at this boundary. Many Jurassic organisms continued living, while new forms appeared and became more common. The ecosystems of the Cretaceous developed from the changes that occurred during the final part of the Jurassic period. The exact reasons for the end of the Jurassic period are still studied by scientists. Unlike the end of the Cretaceous period, which involved a major extinction event caused by an asteroid impact, the Jurassic to Cretaceous transition does not show evidence of one single worldwide disaster. Instead, scientists study several factors, including climate change, volcanic activity, continental movement, changes in sea levels, and gradual changes in ecosystems. Fossil records from this time provide important information about these changes. Fossils found in rocks from the late Jurassic and early Cretaceous show how animals and plants changed over millions of years. By studying bones, footprints, shells, pollen, and other remains, scientists can understand how ancient environments developed. The rocks formed during this period also reveal information about ancient geography. Different regions preserve different parts of the Jurassic and Cretaceous worlds. Fossils from Europe, North America, Asia, Africa, and other areas show that life was distributed across many environments. These discoveries continue to improve knowledge about the transition between these two geological periods. The beginning of the Cretaceous period brought new conditions for life. Continents continued moving, oceans continued changing, and ecosystems became different from those of the late Jurassic. Dinosaurs remained important, but many new species appeared. Plants, marine animals, flying reptiles, and smaller creatures also continued to evolve. The transition from the Jurassic period into the Cretaceous period represents one of the most important stages in Earth's history, because it shows how life changes over long periods of time. It was a period of movement, environmental adjustment, and biological development that shaped the world that existed during the millions of years that followed.